More than a dozen Russian motorcycles were destroyed before the assault group could punch a real hole through Ukraine's defensive line. And that loss may be only the first warning of something much bigger on the battlefield. Russia is still sending motorcycles, ATVs, buggies, and small infantry groups into hot front-line areas because tanks and BMPs are becoming harder to keep alive. Reconnaissance. UAVs, FPV drones, mines, and artillery have turned many approach routes into deadly ground before heavy armor can even reach the trenches. From the ground, this tactic can look reasonable. A motorcycle is cheaper, faster, smaller, and easier to spread out than an armored vehicle. It can carry soldiers across open fields before Ukrainian defenders seem ready to react. For Russian commanders, speed looks like a way to survive where armor has become too visible. But from above, the picture is completely different. Once a Ukrainian reconnaissance drone sees the route, every burst of speed can become a deadly signal. Every turn, every stop, and every attempt to hide can lead the FPV drone to the next target. The danger is simple. Speed no longer guarantees survival. A Russian soldier can drop the bike, run into the trees, crawl into a trench, or hide inside an abandoned house. But the drone can still follow the movement. So what happens when a unit believes speed is its last shield, but Ukraine has already turned the entire road into a hunting corridor? Russia is trading armor for speed because heavy vehicles are now much easier to find near the front line. Across several hot areas of the battlefield, Russian units are still sending motorcycles, ATVs, buggies, and small infantry teams toward Ukrainian defensive positions. These groups are not moving like a classic armored assault. They are smaller, faster, and more scattered. Their job is to cross exposed ground before Ukraine can bring full fire on them, then reach a tree line, a trench entrance, or a damaged building where the next stage of the attack can begin. From the Russian side, the reason is practical. A tank, a BMP, or an APC can carry more firepower and give soldiers more protection, but it also becomes a large moving sign once it leaves cover. The engine heat, dust, track marks, and slow movement can all draw attention from Ukrainian reconnaissance, UAVs. If that vehicle is seen early, the route ahead can quickly turn dangerous. FPV drones may wait near the road. A command center can watch the situation from a safe place. Mines may block the path. Artillery can strike the stopping point. That is why motorcycles have become more common in these light assault attempts. A bike is cheaper than a BMP, and it does not carry a full squad inside one obvious target. It can move along a narrow dirt road, cut across a field, or pass through broken ground where heavier armor may be forced to slow down. A few riders can spread out and make the target picture harder to read from the ground. But this advantage is also the weakness. A motorcycle can give movement, but it cannot give protection. The rider has no armor around his body, no roof above his head, and no safe space to survive a nearby blast. If the bike is hit, damaged, or forced to stop, the soldier becomes exposed at once. He must run, crawl, or search for cover while the sky is still watching him. In the assault patterns seen around Ukrainian defensive areas, Russian motorcycle groups often move first because they can test the route for the forces behind them. One group may rush forward to see where Ukrainian fire comes from. Another may look for a gap between positions. A small infantry team may try to reach a house or a trench before heavier weapons arrive. On paper, this creates pressure and may force defenders to react too early. On the battlefield, that plan depends on one fragile idea. The riders must keep their speed and rhythm. If the first motorcycle is hit, the whole flow can begin to break. The men behind it must decide in seconds whether to pass, stop, turn back, or abandon the route. Each choice creates a new signal for Ukrainian observers. A sudden turn shows fear. A pause shows confusion. A group forming near a wreck shows where survivors are gathering. This is why the motorcycle tactic should not be read as a simple sign of Russian strength. It is also a sign of pressure. Moscow is trying to keep assaults moving in places where heavier vehicles are too visible and too expensive to lose. Speed is being used as a substitute for armor, but speed alone cannot replace cover, coordination, and control of the air above the route. The real question is no longer whether a motorcycle can move faster than a tank. It clearly can. The deeper question is whether that speed still matters when a Ukrainian drone has already seen the road, marked the movement, and prepared the next strike before the riders reach the line. Ukraine's reconnaissance drones changed the fight before the Russian motorcycles reached the first defensive line. The movement began as a fast approach across exposed ground. Russian riders and small infantry groups tried to use speed to cross the danger area, but above them, a Ukrainian UAV was already watching the route. It did not need to attack. Its first job was to read the movement, follow the direction, and turn the rushing formation into a clear target picture. From that height, the assault looked very different from what the riders saw on the ground. The UAV could see which motorcycles were leading, which ones were falling behind, and where the group might run if the first strike came. It could also see the nearby tree lines, broken buildings, small roads, and possible hiding points. This made every second of movement useful for Ukraine, because the longer the drone watched, the less surprise Russia had left. Once the route was understood, the next stage came quickly. Coordinates and visual guidance could be passed to FPV teams, and the battlefield began to close around the riders. Ukraine did not have to wait for the motorcycles to reach the trench line. The attack could begin while the group was still on the way, when the soldiers were exposed, moving fast, and unable to build real cover. The first FPV strike was the moment the assault started to lose its shape. A motorcycle or ATV hit on the road does more than remove one vehicle. It forces every soldier behind it to react under pressure. Some riders may try to pass the damaged machine. Others may brake, turn, jump off, or shout for direction. In those few seconds, the group stops acting like one unit and begins breaking into separate targets. This is where speed becomes dangerous. A fast formation needs rhythm. It needs every rider to keep distance, direction, and trust in the man ahead. Once the first explosion cuts through that order, speed no longer gives control. It creates confusion. A rider who accelerates away can reveal his escape line. Another who stops near a burning bike gives the FPV pilot a slower target. A soldier who runs toward a wall or a ditch shows the next place to strike. The motorcycle itself offers almost no protection at this stage. It can move quickly across a field, but it cannot protect the rider from a drone diving from above or from the side. There is no roof, no armored plate, and no protected cabin. If the FPV arrives close enough, the soldier has only a short moment to hear the sound, look up, and decide whether to keep moving or abandon the vehicle. When some Russian soldiers dropped their bikes and ran, the danger did not end. Human speed cannot compete with an FPV drone once the target is already marked. A man running into a tree line feels hidden from the road, but the UAV above still keeps him in view. A soldier entering a damaged house believes the walls are covered, but the drone team still watches the doorway, the roof, and the next exit. The Russian unit tries to escape the kill zone, while Ukraine keeps the pressure from above. Each movement creates a new clue. Dust, heat, panic, and direction all help the defenders understand where the next strike should go. This raises the harder question for Russia. If FPV drones can catch motorcycles, follow infantry on foot, and punish every pause along the route, is the motorcycle still a battlefield advantage? Or is it only a cheaper way to send infantry into a danger zone that Ukraine has already mapped? After the first drone strike breaks the movement outside, the battle often moves into the closest and most dangerous spaces on the front line. This is where the war changes shape. The Russian riders and infantry who survive the open ground do not simply disappear. They look for the nearest trench, ruins wall, basement, or abandoned house. These places give them cover from direct fire, but they also create a new problem for both sides. A drone can find the target from above, yet soldiers on the ground still have to clear the position room by room and trench by trench. In one trench assault, Ukrainian soldiers moved forward after drone teams had already helped identify where Russian troops were hiding. The approach looked controlled at first, but the danger appeared in seconds. A Russian soldier came out and signaled that he wanted to surrender, then suddenly tried to throw a hand grenade toward the Ukrainian team. The soldiers reacted at once, and the grenade exploded near the same spot moments later. That scene shows why close combat remains brutal even in a drone war. A UAV can give the first warning, and a FPV can strike a moving target, but neither can remove every hidden threat inside a trench. A soldier under pressure can still wait around a corner, hold a grenade, or fire from a blind angle. This forces infantry to slow down, check each section, and treat every entrance as a possible trap. Instead of sending more soldiers straight toward the trench, Ukraine could use bomb-dropping drones to reduce the danger first. A drone above the position can hover over the trench line, find the deeper fighting hole, and drop a munition from above before infantry moves closer again. This changes the method of clearing the position. Ukrainian soldiers do not have to rush into a narrow trench where one hidden soldier can throw a grenade at the last second. They can keep distance, force the defender to move, and make the inside of the trench unsafe from the air. Each step forward becomes more controlled because the drone has already tested the most dangerous section. The same pattern can appear when Russian infantry runs into abandoned buildings after being spotted outside. In one case, a soldier broke away from others and entered a damaged structure, hoping the walls would protect him from the drone team. The FPV followed the movement, entered the building, and exploded inside. The strike did not end the sequence at once because the target moved again, and another drone had to continue the hunt from a different angle. A second situation shows how a roof or doorway can become the next weak point. When a soldier hides inside a small house, the building looks safe from the road, but it remains exposed from above. FPV operators can watch the roofline, the windows, and the exit path. If the first hit does not finish the job, the next drone can arrive while the target is still trying to understand where the danger is coming from. In another case, Russian troops reached a factory building that had been planned as a fallback point. They believed the structure could buy time after the open approach failed. But the reconnaissance drone did not lose them. FPV drones later surrounded the area and attacked the entrance zone, while soldiers who arrived too late were caught near the building. The shelter became a trap because the route into it had already been watched. This is the real meaning of modern close combat in Ukraine. Drone warfare and trench warfare are no longer separate battles. They now feed into each other. The drone forces soldiers into cover, but even that might not be a safe choice. Russian soldiers now have to be careful of the sky and the eyes wherever they go. Drones in Ukraine are no longer only weapons that explode on impact. They have become a system that controls movement before the first shot is fired. When a Ukrainian UAV rises above a contested road, a tree line, or a broken village, it begins shaping the battle from the first minute. It can locate Russian infantry inside trenches, follow men moving between houses, and watch vehicles as they enter or leave a hidden position. The drone does not have to destroy anything by itself. Its power comes from turning movement into information, and that information can guide FPV teams, artillery crews, and infantry below. This is why Ukraine often avoids sending infantry forward at the start of a dangerous contact. If Russian soldiers are seen near a forest edge or a trench entrance, the first response can come from the air. A FPV drone can strike the exposed group, a bomber drone can drop a munition near the shelter, or another UAV can keep the target in view until a better moment appears. Ground troops then move later, after the enemy has been pushed out of position, separated from vehicles, or forced to reveal where he is hiding. This method changes the order of the fight. In older close combat, infantry often had to find the enemy by entering the danger zone. Now the drone can enter that space first. It checks the road, watches the roof, follows the doorway, and studies the exit path. The soldier on the ground still matters, but he no longer has to be the first set of eyes in the most dangerous place. The same control appears when Russian troops run into houses after being hit outside. A wall can block rifle fire from one direction, but it does not erase the route that led them there. If a drone saw the soldiers enter, the building becomes part of the target map. FPV pilots can aim at a window, a weak roof section, a doorway, or a sidewall. A small structure can burn, crack, or collapse if the drone hits the right point with enough force. In one battlefield sequence, Russian soldiers reached a building after their movement was already tracked. One shelter seemed useful for a short moment, but the drone team kept watching the area around it. The next strikes focused on where men were entering, where they might escape, and where they had grouped together. The building no longer served only as cover. It became a fixed point inside a larger kill zone. Drone control can also affect situations that are more complex than a direct assault. When prisoners, escorts, or wounded soldiers move through contested ground, a UAV can follow the entire scene. If one armed soldier separates from the group, hides in another structure, the drone team can shift pressure toward him. That pressure can create confusion, and in rare moments, it can open a short chance for others to escape. This is the deeper change. Control of ground no longer means only standing on it with infantry. A side can also control an area by watching the road, marking the shelters, and keeping strike drones ready. The enemy may still be physically present, but his choices are already limited if every movement is visible from above. That is why even a small FPV can change the meaning of a house, a forest edge, or a narrow road. It can turn a hiding place into a trap and a retreat path into the next target line. Ground robots are becoming part of the same battlefield system because even rescue missions are now exposed to drones. When a Ukrainian soldier is badly wounded near the front, the danger does not end when the firing slows. The route back can be just as deadly as the place where he was hit. Russian drones can watch tracks, trenches, tree lines, and broken roads, while artillery or FPV teams wait for any rescue team that enters the open. In that kind of space, sending more infantry forward can turn one casualty into several more. This is why Ukraine has started using unmanned ground vehicles for some evacuation missions. A UGV can move into areas where a medic or a small rescue team would be at serious risk. It can carry a wounded man across rough ground, pass through a narrow path, and keep moving while the operators stay farther from direct fire. The machine does not remove danger, but it changes who has to face the first hit. One evacuation shows how hard this kind of mission can become. A Ukrainian soldier was badly wounded after a close fight near a trench position, and direct rescue was too dangerous because the area was still watched from above. His unit placed him on a ground robot that had been modified for battlefield evacuation. The vehicle carried armor plates for protection, and the operators guided it slowly through a route where every turn could bring another drone. The journey was not clean or fast. Russian drones followed the movement and tried to close in, but the robot kept going. Electronic warfare equipment helped disrupt some of the threats, and the wounded soldier stayed on the vehicle while the team searched for a safer handover point. The evacuation took hours, not minutes, which shows how much the battlefield has changed. Even moving one injured man away from the front became a long fight for survival. This moment matters because it reveals the other side of drone warfare. Drones do not only change how soldiers are attacked, they also change how soldiers are saved. A road that once carried a medical vehicle can now be watched, marked, and struck. A group of medics can be detected before they reach the casualty. A normal evacuation can turn into a target if it moves too openly. The density of drones also affects every soldier still fighting on the ground. In some areas, Russian and Ukrainian drones can be in the same sky at the same time, and infantry cannot always tell which sound belongs to which side. A small aircraft passing overhead can force a unit to freeze, change direction, or stop in advance. The sound alone becomes part of the pressure, because no one knows whether the next drone is watching or diving. Even a short movement outside cover can become dangerous. A soldier stepping out of a trench, a pair of men crossing a yard, or a light vehicle trying to pull someone away can create the next visible signal. Darkness offers less protection when thermal cameras are present, and smoke does not always hide movement from every angle. The battlefield punishes routine actions that once felt simple. This is the new shape of modern war in Ukraine. Old trench fighting still exists, with mud, grenades, machine guns, and close-range fear. But above it are UAV cameras, FPV drones, thermal sensors, electronic warfare, and unmanned ground vehicles. The result is a hybrid system where the sky watches, the ground traps, and robots begin taking risks that humans can no longer take safely. The destruction of Russian motorcycles and ATVs is not just another battlefield clip. It is a warning about how fast the war in Ukraine is changing. Russia used speed to reduce the risk of losing more armored vehicles, but Ukraine turned that same speed into a weakness. Drones watch the roads from above, then chase the riders before they reach the trench line. The lesson is hard to ignore. A motorcycle can cross open ground faster than a soldier on foot, but it cannot hide from a camera in the sky. A fighter can run into a building, but if the drone has already followed him there, the wall becomes only temporary cover. A light assault can begin as a fast attack, but one strike can split it into separate targets. In the coming months, Russia may keep using motorcycles, ATVs, buggies, and small infantry groups because they are cheaper and more flexible than heavy armor. But without stronger electronic warfare, better drone support, and more accurate fire coordination, these units could keep entering routes that Ukraine has already marked. So the real question is now bigger than one failed assault. In modern war, is speed still an advantage, or does it only send a target faster into the kill zone? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to Military Force for more clear analysis on the weapons, battles, and geopolitical shocks shaping today's war.